Thank you, Ian. Thank you very much for inviting me to talk to you today. As the slide suggests, my presentation is about focusing on London. In terms of the urban area of London, Transport for London is the transport authority for the London area, the Greater London area. There's a few nuances within that. We don't run everything in London in terms of transport, but we do run the tube network, we run some rail services, we might regulate the entire bus network with licensed private hire and taxis. We run all the traffic lights in London, and we run a couple of control centres. We do not manage all the roads. In fact, we manage very little of the road space in London. Most of the road space in London is managed by London's 33 boroughs. Only about 4% of the roads that we run in London are run and managed by TfL. So 96% of the curbside access that you need in deliveries, 96% of the road space that the deliveries are made on, is all run by other people. They're all managed by other people. So we have to go back to the point of collaboration. We have to work very closely with our other authorities to make sure that I'll bring it closer. To make sure that we can we can manage the network as best we can. That is the reason why strategically we manage all the traffic lights, for example. But there's some other things that are the things we need to take into account as well. I think just to pick up on a point from Ian's first introductory speech, we're very clear at TfL that despite the questions of the industry and the industry's customers, that there is no such thing as a free delivery. When we talk about costs of delivery, we're not just talking about the cost of delivery financially, but we're also talking about the cost on congestion, the cost on road space usage, the cost in terms of environmental and safety issues as well. My presentation is going to focus on some of those challenges and some of the solutions that we want to work with the freight industry to talk through. It's also very clear to TfL as an organisation that despite the fact that the freight industry is extremely efficient, despite the fact that it's a great problem-solving industry, you give up a problem like the Olympic Games and it solves it, because of that, it's a double-edged sword, because of that, when policymakers think about freight, they only see the downsides of it. They only see the congestion, they only see the air quality issues, they only see the safety issues. And therefore they treat freight as a bad thing, whereas 99.9% of the time, everything is working exactly as it should do. Everyone gets their stuff on time, everything arrives in terms of servicing on time. So we need to make sure that the perception of freight is a good, enabling, economic enabler for the city. And that's one of the things that we, in my team, keep talking about a lot. So in terms of London, where we've come from in London in the last 6 months, well, actually nearly a year ago now, we had a new mayor elected, Sadiq Khan. And for the first time actually in the history of the mayoralty, so we've had 2 mayors since 2000, freight was covered as a policy, as a manifesto policy for all of the main candidates. So it was actually quite an interesting point for us to think that it wasn't just about buses and the tube and making sure things worked all right. People were talking about freight and managing freight better at a political level, not just an operational level. So that was a really useful thing for us. It was also tied into a lot of the other things the mayor wants to talk about. He wants to talk about better air quality. He wants to talk about this concept of healthy streets, which is what the wheel on the right-hand side of the screen is predicting. It's talking about making sure pedestrians are able to move around more easily. And there are things the healthy street, the economic healthy street, as well as a physical healthy street. He's also made some quite bold announcements and launched some consultations around air quality. So, for example, already later this year, the mayor is going to be introducing an emission surcharge into the central London area. He's consulting on bringing forward and changing the ultra-low emission zone, and one of those consultations is going on as we speak. As I've said, the Healthy Streets concept itself has been launched. We also do have a problem around congestion. That's nothing new in London. There's been congestion in London probably since the Roman times. And maybe what has happened a lot in the last couple of years is that the road spaces continue to be reallocated away from motor vehicles towards things like cycling and walking, and that will only continue. The modernisation of Oxford Street, the consultation of that was launched earlier this week. And as more businesses and more boroughs want to have nicer places and spaces for people to do business and to relax, the pressure on the road network is only going to increase. And we need to manage that properly, we need to manage that in a balanced way. We also clearly in the last 4 or 5 years had an issue around safety, especially when we're talking about HGVs and cyclists. So the mayor has introduced the Vision Zero approach to road safety, which is where he wants to reduce deaths and serious injuries on the road network by 50% by 2020, and go beyond that in the years ahead, to get that to none at all in the decades ahead. But also technically aligned to that, I'll talk more about this, is the direct vision standard, which is applied to HGVs. And that's about eliminating blind spots for vehicles at the point of design. So what are London's problems? Well, London's problems are the same that you find in any urban area across the world. And in terms of freight, the challenges all around the issues really of safety, air quality and congestion, they're all very much interlinked. For example, on safety, although HGVs only make up 4% of London's road miles, they are involved in nearly 80% of cyclist fatalities. So clearly a real issue we need to address there, as well as 10-20% pedestrian fatalities. And around a third of these cycle fatalities are involved with a left-turning HGV. The cyclist gets lost in the blind spot. So we need to make sure we address that. Air quality has already been mentioned, and will be mentioned continuously throughout today. We understand what the contribution that freight makes to the road transport emissions. It's somewhere between a quarter and a third of all CO2, NOx, and PM10, so nitrous oxide, particulate matter, the really small stuff that gets into your lungs and makes breathing difficult, especially if you're a young child or an older person. We know that from the King's College research that's been carried out that around somewhere between 9,000 and 10,000 early deaths in London are caused by poor quality every year. So we've got a real challenge to face that. And the government is also, for those of you who have been following the news this week, the government is also trying to do something around that. Perhaps not this side of the election, depending on what the courts say. We also know about congestion that freight traffic peaks when the network is at its busiest already. In the morning rush hour in central London, a third of all freight traffic is freight vehicles. About 10% of all traffic in London is freight vehicles. 10% of all traffic is HGVs, the other 20% is vans. That's not very efficient for you to be there at that time because the road network's already at its busiest. So why is that happening? Why are vans dominating HGV traffic flows? How can we help the industry to stop being both a cause and a victim of congestion? Because obviously congestion reduces journey reliability time. And on the example here on the right is some information we actually got back as part of a consultation from a large distribution company. And they basically told us that their response to falling traffic speed was just to add more vehicles to their fleet and more staff. And of course that reduces traffic speed more, so they add more vehicles, which reduces traffic speed, and so on and so on and so on. We need to find a way of working with the industry as a whole to make sure they get out of that vicious spiral before it starts. So we need to make sure we do things imaginatively. We're also dealing, which is well known, has been talked about here already, a rapidly changing industry. I'm still not sure about drones, but perhaps we'll come on to that this afternoon. What we do know about London is that London's population is rising, and rising very quickly. We expect there to be somewhere between 10 and 11 million people here by 2030. Currently about 8.6, 8.7 million people. So London is growing very, very fast. And with that comes growing and changing customer demand. People are ordering stuff so quickly they don't even realise they're doing it, or realise they actually need it, before they actually consider whether they need it or not. So we're dealing with a completely different, changing customer base, as are you. Technology, we touched on already, changing as well, real-time data, CAVs, connected autonomous vehicles. The vehicles themselves are changing, fuel types are changing, the way the safety features are fitted on them are safety, that's changing. The industry itself is changing, much more internet orders, which we'll cover up, I'm sure we'll cover on today, as well as other ways of sourcing of materials. The growth of vans I've already touched on. We understand why that is. Vans are it's easier to train a van driver, it's cheaper and easier to train a van driver than it is to drive an HGV. But also, you've got to make the cost versus service requirements for your customers. We also know the industry is already suffering driver and manager shortages, especially in the HGV sector. And as I've already touched upon, with the fact that the Mayor has mentioned freight in his manifesto, it's now got a higher political profile. So what is our approach to managing service and delivery in London? Well, what we've done over the last 3 or 4 years is work through the members of our Freight Forum, and with London's boroughs and with others as well, to come up with a new vision for freight and for a transport system. And because we understand that freight underpins the economic success and the economic sustainability of London and the city that we serve, this transport system and the freight transport system has to be a system that meets London's growing economic needs. It needs to do that using the safest, cleanest, and most efficient delivery as possible. Right vehicle, right place, right time. That's the way we talk about it. So these are our objectives. Improve safety, reduce congestion, improve air quality, both through reducing congestion and through having clean vehicles, but doing this in a way that's at a fair cost to Londoners. Fair cost to Londoners businesses, as well as the fair cost to Londoners themselves. For those of you who worked with us during the Olympics, we had 4 R's during the Olympics. We've now got 3 M's, which is slightly less catchy or more catchy. I'll let you decide. Where most people, most local authorities end up is the mitigate part of this area, mitigating the impact of each trip, making sure through regulation, perhaps, the vehicle is clean and safe, and that through parking tickets, that you loading, so through charge notices, you're loading and unloading at the right place at the right time. Where we want to get to is actually sort of a point where we minimise road kilometres for freight traffic as much as possible. Because actually, the safest, cleanest trip that takes place in London or any urban area is the one that doesn't have to happen in the first place. So that includes remoding to rail and road, rail and river where possible. It includes more consolidation, both through consolidation centres, but also through consolidation of supply chains, the way that businesses procure stuff. And also just think about how getting businesses to think differently about how they get the things they need. Then we want to talk about matching the demand that's left behind to the network capacity at the time. Trying to get it out of that morning peak period, trying to get it into other parts of the day. And then once we've done all of that, that's when we start to mitigate the impact of each residual trip, if you like. And these are the various programs we've got working towards that. So mode switch, I touched on it, is a key part of that. Same with consolidation. Changing behaviours of businesses, how they buy stuff, is a key part of that, but also land use as well in the long term. Just on land use earlier, about where the shed's going to be, where the consolidation centre is going to be built in the city where the land prices are already really expensive and everyone's just building houses rather than doing anything else. We need to make sure that our policies and the Mayor's policies are aligned to that. Matching is all about retiming, using the right routes in the right places. We're interested to see how the Ordnance Survey is going to help with doing that. And then it's about mitigating the impact of each trip. Clean vehicles and safe vehicles. And these are the work that we're currently doing in our team at TfL. So to pick on an example of where we've gone and where we've been successful in this area, quickly talk you through our safety programme. We've had FORS in our TfL for a long time, since 2007, 2008. And what we've done through FORS is we've driven down the number of collisions that accredited operators see, both injury collisions and collisions overall, and we've actually grown the number of accredited operators to over 4,500. What we've also done is try to use our buying power as an organisation and encourage other people, especially in the construction industry, to use their buying power as a tool to make London's roads safer. So things like the Construction Logistics and Cycle Safety Programme and Work-Related Road Risk, which is what WER stands for. When someone can come up with a better name for WER, please send me a break. I can't stand. Well, what that leads to, what all those programmes have led to, is an idea that is the programme around safer trucks where we can improve the safety of HGVs overall. We know that blind spots are a major cause of vulnerable road user incidents, which is what VRU stands for, cyclists, pedestrians and motorcyclists. How can we eliminate those at the point of design rather than either retrofitting or having vehicles that are arguably designed to work in a quarry operating in their environment? And on that very last point, you'll have seen this already, the consultation on improving safety at the Direct Vision Standard, first consultation in a series of 3, finished last week. The consolidation, the Direct Vision Standard itself was launched last September, and we're actually starting to adopt it in our own in future contracts from this month. What we want to try and do is make sure that we can help manufacturers and people who are buying the vehicles to make informed choices about what they buy and what they make. We had a couple of examples where you go to a manufacturer and they say, no one will buy these high vision vehicles, and we go to the operator and they say, well, they won't make them for us. So actually we got them in the room together and then said that actually we probably can make more of these, we just need to find a way through. Emissions is also a big challenge, as I've already said. Our Low City programme, which hopefully many of you in the room already know about, is our commercial vehicle low emission programme. It's modelled on the CLOCS programme because it actually uses the same model of getting vehicle manufacturers, operators, people who buy and sell and lend and lease these vehicles together in the same room, along with the trade associations and government at all levels, to find a way so we can get the lowest emission vehicles onto the streets of London as quickly as possible. To date, we've engaged with around 1,000 stakeholders, and we're working to support the rollout of infrastructure for alternatively fueled vehicles. There was an announcement yesterday, you may have seen, around rolling out more electric charging points in London by 2020. Again, it comes down to using buying power. It talks about buying power and procurement power to make sure that the cleanest vehicle is the one that's always chosen. And it's also helping fleets prepare for the ultra-low emission zone, which the Mayor is consulting on introducing now in central London by 2019, and for all HGVs across London by 2020. We know this is not a London-only problem as well, so we have involvement of cities from places like Coventry, Manchester, Leeds and Sheffield are also involved in our programme. And we also reach out through programmes like Freeview and through organisations like Polis to other European cities, because we know that they face the same challenges as us and sometimes look to us for some of the answers. We're very clear we don't have all the answers in London, and we're actually as keen to learn from other people as they are to learn from us. I've touched on consolidation already. Consolidation and consolidation. At TfL, one of the things we wanted to make sure we did was we led by example. So we've actually placed a ban on staff receiving non-essential personal deliveries at all of our buildings. We've actually made great strides in that already. It is about not just saying, we do understand why people have stuff delivered to the work environment, because they're not going to be at home, and we want to make sure they get their parcel first time every time. So what it's about for us is using services like clickcollect.london, which is something the CRP have set up, using money from the Mayor's Air Quality Fund to list where all of the click and collect points in London are. Whether that be a Double, whether that be an Amazon drop point, or whatever else people want to use. And we've seen people switch their behaviour quite quickly. Now, perhaps TfL is a more enlightened organisation than some, but it's something that we've definitely done and we'll continue to work with others towards. We've also worked with business improvement districts in the area of Holborn. They are now working towards having a preferred suppliers club around things like daily essentials, milk, stationery, those sorts of issues. And they're also actually acting as a collection point for personal deliveries. And they are then made, consolidated into a collection point and then made to the individual offices. People at the offices still get them, but they get them in a way that's more coordinated from an electric vehicle. We've also just had approval for a new 2-year programme to test consolidation solutions across London. And no doubt people will speak to me about that afterwards. Retiming I've touched on in terms of the match area, guidance and tools that we want to make sure that people can make informed choices about retiming. It is about making sure that you're a good neighbour, but you also get the delivery at the right time for everybody concerned. So we're developing training packs for staff and managers, as well as some purchasing guidelines as well. And we're also very conscious that on that good neighbourly point that noise is a real big issue, so we need to make sure that businesses, when they do get deliveries, it's perhaps different hours than they currently get them in the quietest way possible. Very quick skip through some of the stuff that we do, the conferences that we go to, the people that we speak to. We're very lucky. We're invited to places like here today to come and talk to people. You may have seen me or some of my colleagues already in some of these other areas. But just to say, we have a freight forum that runs every 6 months that we invite the industry to. And I think Triangle wants to come to the next one. And if you want to find out more about that, please see me in the coffee break. We've talked to people at demonstration events around Agile Freight, Clocks Progress events all around safety, some stuff with Green Fleet on quality, Freight City Expo in Birmingham that I met some of you at, the Urban Transport Group, which is the collection of cities across the UK, that Manchester, Leeds, Sheffield, Birmingham, Newcastle, Liverpool, and a couple of others as well, coming together to understand how we can share experiences. We do work with both manufacturers in this country and across Europe, and we also contribute to European schemes as well, as I said already. The last point on this slide is about London Councils. The London Councils run the London Lorry Control Scheme, which is colloquially known as the London Lorry Ban. And actually they've now decided that they're going to review, following some work with us and from boroughs and from the industry, we've got together and they said they want to review this, and we're very keenly involved in this review of the London Lorry Control Scheme. We're on both on the steering group and the working group. What we want to get out of it is to make sure that people understand that they can make deliveries in London at all times of the day or night if they need to. And there are ways that they can do that, but we also need to make sure that we balance that off with the needs of Londoners to get a good night's sleep and they don't get unnecessarily disturbed. For the industry, we also want to make sure that the barrier that they may see, if people talk about it as a ban, it's seen as perceived as a barrier. How do we stop that perception from growing? How do we mitigate that perception? So just in summary, really, our job is to reduce the impact of freight. It's very clear to us it's not about reducing the amount of stuff that businesses get. That doesn't make it sustainable London. We need to make sure that when it happens in the cleanest, safest, most efficient way. And sometimes, in the future, hopefully that will be the trick that doesn't happen in the future. We need to make sure that we work across the supply chain, both with people like yourselves and with your customers and with people that your customers represent, to reduce the number of road freight trips, work locally with industry and businesses to find solutions on the ground. We don't just want to use regulation for regulation's sake. We think there's a lot more potential in behaviour change ideas, because regulation deals with the negative aspects of freight. However, we're not the mayor is quite prepared to use regulations to drive change and deliver change, and he's shown that through the consultation on direct vision standards and on ULEZ. We also want to work with the industry and with other cities to establish common standards and regulations. We don't want another Fords set in Manchester. We want Fords to be set in Manchester. We don't want another DBS to be set in Newcastle. We want DBS to be developed to be taken forward by other cities as well. We know the industry don't make different regulations in different cities, and we're working with our colleagues in different cities to try and achieve that. Then our contact details. Please note them down if you want to speak to me. The website is tfl.gov.uk/rate, and I'll be here to the end of the coffee break at 11:40. Thank you very much.